All right. We're going to go ahead and get started because it is time. I'm excited. Welcome, everybody. I'm the photo professor, and we're at Office Hours, episode 10, which is the final episode of this season. So we'll be taking a summer break afterwards. I'm excited about that because there's all sorts of fun projects in the pipeline, which I definitely love having those summer projects. You just kind of feel animated and like, I want to work in the garden. I want to build stuff. I want to go do things. And so it's nice. We'll have our kind of breaks from there. So we've got a fun lineup for today. We've got some nice discussion items as well as looking at some cool techniques and Photoshop. So it should be pretty fun there. I do want to start with something in Photoshop so that we can kind of play around with some of these techniques just a little bit, and then we'll break into some discussion afterwards. I don't want to break it like I did last time with my screen sharing, so I'm going to leave this one live and going to hopefully be hiccup free this time around. We'll see what's going on. I've changed some settings on my end on it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we should see a picture of an apple up here. Everybody seeing that one? Okay, cool. So I was recently on a call with the Adobe research team looking at masking. And I realized that I do some weird masking stuff, and they told me I was weird. And I was like, okay, cool. So this isn't the standard thing. They're like, yes, tell us what you do. Tell us what you do on here. And essentially, I like to work sometimes with really complex masking, where I'm not just working with a single item that I'm masking, but I might have multiple layers of masking. So I wanted to show you some of the different ways that I go about masking, so you can maybe add it to your toolbox and do something a little bit different. So I've got an image here, and this one is just a generated picture of an apple from ChatGPT. Even left the credits up there. I did not take this picture of an apple, but it's on a white background. And if you're working with stock images or maybe a product or something that you photographed, we're very frequently going to be on this really clean studio white background. And now there's a whole bunch of different ways that we can go about isolating the subject from the background. Probably the easiest one is just hit the remove background button. I can hit it once. It's going to do an amazing job of coming through, extracting our object, and we just have this nice mask. We can hit shift and disable the mask if we want to. See what we're going on there. Alternatively, we could use something else like getting kind of fancy, and I'm going to open up the layer styles here, and we can play with the blend if modes, and we can say, you know what, if it's pure white, let's get rid of it just by dragging the slider, and then we can save or preserve some of the shadow that's underneath. So I can come up here and say, you know what, let's kind of come in here so we get this nice shadow coming in, and we can make sure that we're saving that area while still getting rid of the other areas throughout. Now that does produce some holes where we had like our highlights that were coming up there. So that may or may not be the best process for you if you had just like a solid color object that you were trying to isolate off that background. That could be a pretty cool way to do it. But regardless, it's not about the extraction techniques. We're looking at what masking does. Just saying that there might be multiple ways that you are masking something. So I have an object here, and it's like, okay, I've got this mask. And then maybe I want to do something like cut it in half. And so the conventional way of doing that would say, okay, I'm going to click on my mask, and I want it to disappear. So I'm going to fill it with my foreground color, which is black in this case. And bam, I can make it so half the apple's gone. But this is a bit destructive because now I've lost my beautiful shape that maybe I worked really hard extracting. In this case, I just hit the button that said, let's get rid of that background with the background removal tool. But maybe you have a really complex selection, like maybe there's hair or something that's got some unique folds or transparency, a net, something that you worked really hard with, and you don't want to lose that mask. So a really simple thing that's quick and dirty and does not bloat up your files is just to create a group. And you can hit Control or Command G or hit this little group icon here, and it's going to create a group. And I can take my apple now and I can drag it into the group. And now the group allows me to do a new mask. So I can come up here and say, you know what? I want to maybe keep half of this or get rid of another half. I'm just going to make a selection right here and say, I want to keep the stem that's up here. And I can hit the mask icon. And now I've got my group that has the mask on it, and my individual item is still there. So I've got this apple nice and clean. Anytime I want to access it, I can totally do that. So this is a really effective technique, and I like it a lot because you can keep on adding layers to it. So I can put this into another group. We're going to drag that in there, and we're just nesting these groups. And now I can take it and maybe remove a bottom section of this again, or keep the section. I'm going on the negatives here. So we'll just add a new mask on there, and we can just keep on dialing down, and we can add as many layers as we like. And the nice thing about using this group method for narrowing down stuff is that we are not bloating the files, meaning that if I'm looking at my file size, we're staying really, really small files, which is awesome because we don't want to unnecessarily bloat up our file sizes. Because if we have, say, 100 apples that we were all adding in these elements to, it could quite massively get big, or quite easily get massive files. So this is a really good way and my favorite one, but it's a little bit sloppy, meaning that I might not know that this is an apple that's up here. So I'm going to have to make sure to really be good about labeling my structure so that I know that this has the apple in it. So let me show you a different technique. So I'm going to pull this apple out, and we're going to get rid of that file folder. Coming up here, I'm just going to delete everything that's on there. So we've got this applied. If I know that I want to just keep this mask right here, always have it there, I'm never going to want the white back, I can just right-click on the mask and hit Apply Layer Mask. So now this is automatically going to apply it. So my layer mask is there. I've got my good clean one. And if I ever want to do a secondary element, I can always go in and just mask them out directly because I've applied that first mask. So I'm good to work with my second one. So this is a pretty cool technique for being able to do that. The one downside to it, though, is that if I ever want to go back and be like, oh, no, that was a shallow depth of field, and so those should have been a little bit blurry on my edges, and I created a mask, and it's perfectly sharp. I can't go back and fix it. I've applied that mask. It is destructively done. So if you're doing something down and dirty and quick, this is a really good way of doing it, knowing I'm never going to go back. I don't need to touch it again. Let's not introduce other complex things. Applying mask works really well. But let's look at another technique that we can do that gives us non-destructive capabilities. And that's going to be converting our object into a smart object. And we can do that by right-clicking on the side of our layer. And we're going to see that we have the ability to convert to smart object. So if I hit that one, we're going to get the smart object icon that comes down here. And we now have that mask applied. So I'm free to add in my own mask again. And if I ever say, you know what, I needed to add back something else, all I have to do is double click on this smart object. It'll open it back up, and look, my mask is right there. So I can go and I can modify it. I've got it saved, and you just hit save if you want to change something out. I don't want to save this one in this case, but this is a nice way of being able to do it. But notice that my file size now, I'm at 7 megs for this versus the 5 that I was on the other one. Which means that if we're doing really complex things, like I'm doing this 100 different times, we're going to get really, really big file sizes. So I only use this technique if there's something that's really special or important that I need to go back and access to it. If I'm doing it with something that's a little bit simpler, like just a basic extraction like this, I'm probably not going to use this technique, even though it is the most non-destructive. So I wanted to show you a couple of those different ways that we can go about masking that's on here. Andrew's saying mine sometimes gets to 5 or 6 gig. Yeah, I'm right there with you. It seems like when we're working with large files, I've got the Sony A7R5, and those are really big files. And so when I start doing complex elements or different layers and masking that's on them, they just inflate so big that it pretty much maxes out the 2 gig Photoshop file size right off the bat. It's like, okay, I'm immediately in the PSB files. I remember that Photoshop big, PSB, because they're going to be really, really big files, but it slows down your computer. It takes up more space. And if you have different versions of it, it really, really eats your memory on there. So I want to take this, I'm going to get rid of this mask. I don't need it anymore. I'm going to keep this one as a smart object just for fun here. And I want to show you how we can do a little bit of a fun graphic thing with it too. So I'm going to drag this into a picture of an orchard that we have here. And I'm going to do something that's kind of fun and creative with it. I'm going to cut this apple in half. And we're going to come up here. And I'm just going to create a mask on there. So I'm stacking those again. And let's make it a little bit smaller so it's not quite so big here. Now we can add in some fun elements. So I'm going to say, you know what? Let's make some fun text. Maybe we're making a banner, an advertisement, something like that. Let's say keep the doctor, DOCTOR, there we go, away. So I've got some text that's up here. Let's format it so that it kind of fits the space a little bit better. So I'm going to make it really big. And you can hit Control or Command T to bring up these bounding boxes so that we can see where it is and we can just drag it. I can say, you know what? I want to fill this up as big as I can, but I've got some gaps here. I don't want to do that one. I'm going to bring up my text palette, our characters, and this little slider right here, it allows us to adjust the spacing between the lines. So I can go and find the perfect spacing, something that's really tight, maybe like this. And in this case, I'm at 124 point for the spacing, but 157 for the font. And once I have it here, I can just continue to make this bigger or smaller. I'm just going to go ahead and drag this up so we get nice and big and kind of fills up this space. There we go, and I can minimize this one. And now I've got kind of a fun ad that's up here. Keep the doctor away. This is an ad for the Apple campaign or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. So we've got our base text that's up here. Let's make it pretty, though. I'm going to change this coloring on it and say, let's sample a color from our apple. Maybe something like, let's go a little bit lighter. There we go. I like something like that. So I've got some base color that's here. But maybe I want to make it have a little bit more texture or detail that's on it. I'm going to take our apple and let's apply this apple texture to it. So I've got layer 1 that we had here. I'm going to use that same apple, so I've got the texture from there, and just duplicate this. And I can drag it down to new layer or hit Control or Command J to duplicate that layer. And I'm going to drag it up on top. In this case, I don't need this mask that I had before. So I'm going to go ahead and drag it to the garbage can. I do not need it. I've got my full apple that's up here. So I want the texture of this apple to go over the text that I have. So what I can do is I can take this apple that's up here and I'm just going to stretch it or enlarge it. So we can hit Control or Command T or hit that Show Transform control box. And we can open this up and just cover all of our text that's up here. I'm going to go up so it's really big. There we go. So this is the other way that I like to mask things out. We could keep the text, maybe select the text. I'm going to hit Control or Command and click on the thumbnail of this text, and it's going to highlight it for me. So I've got this nice selection, and I can just hit Mask, and I've got a perfect cutout of it. Kind of cool. We just had that selected there. So that's an easy way to do it. But if you ever change and say, you know what, I misspelled doctor, or I don't like the word keep, I want to change that word out somewhere, we are now locked into this because we had actual pixels selected. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit undo on there. And instead what we can do is create a clipping mask. So this is where we can take this top layer and we clip it down to the layer below it. And we can do that by hitting our Alt or Option key when we're hovering our mouse over this line that's right in between the two. So I'm going to hold down that Alt or Option, and notice that we get this little icon here that has the square with the down pointing arrow. When I click it, it's going to clip this layer to the layer that's below it. So now if I were to change my text, keep them doctors away, I've got that texture automatically applied for it. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep the doctor away. But kind of a fun way to be able to apply that texture right to it without having to make an actual mask on this. And this means that if I want to do something like change what my zoom factor is or reposition something, I can do that. I just have to drag that mask around. I don't have to worry about my mask lining up as perfectly as if I were to have that pixel cutout that was there before. So kind of fun being able to do that. And if this is a bit heavy, because I enlarged it a whole bunch, so maybe I don't want it as pronounced, I can just take the opacity on this one and bring it down so I get a little bit of the texture, but not a ton of it. And we can also apply like text effects and layers and stuff too. So I can apply like a subtle bevel and emboss texture. Say, you know what, let's just kind of make that look a little bit more dynamic. Come up somewhere like this, and we'll soften that up just a hair too. So now I've got something that feels more aggressive, feels like it's got some intentional apple sort of texture to it. And I notice that my T's overlapping a little bit. I don't like that as much. I could just take the same text layer because we've got everything clipped to it, and I can just move it over. Look at that. No space that's up there. So now we've got that crisp, clear line. So we just made a really, really quick advertisement here, keeping the doctor away. Yay, Apple industry. So we can have some fun that way. So I just wanted to showcase some of my favorite ways of masking because there's a whole bunch of different options on there. I'm going to go ahead and stop our screen share. There we go. Hopefully I don't crash anything that's up here. But does anybody use those masking techniques, or do you have a favorite one or one that you like to use when you're making composites or combining different elements to it? Nobody? Yeah.
I use a lot of the same stuff you do, the grouping and the clipping, oftentimes. So, but I loved your demonstration.
Yeah. So the grouping it's the down, dirty, and smallest file size, which is amazing, but it's so easy to get lost in different elements.
Yeah,
And
if
so
you
it's
have
like,
too
okay.
many.
Yep. It's like, wait, which level was this one on? Because kind of the fun thing about masking is that if you have a foreground object, like you could just place the object behind it. But if we're doing masking, we can actually have that object in front of it and just mask out the shape of the object that's behind so that your layers aren't necessarily in the order of front to back, but we're making it appear that way, which can be really nice if you have like a background object that you really like and you're like, okay, I want to add in text that's going around my subject, but my subject's frozen in that background. It's part of the image. We can just make that extraction around the front and make it seem like it's coming out instead of just extracting the subject and putting it on the very, very top, which is nice if you're doing like templated type work or anything that's kind of busy that way.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so discussion item that we had. So I had a question come in from Heidi, and this is about portfolio building. And so maybe you've got a portfolio that you're showing clients. Maybe it's a body of work. Maybe you're going for award, prestige, maybe your fellowship, something like that. We need to showcase a body of work. And we've got something that's over the long term that you're doing. So not just what can I do today, not what have I done this week, but I'm showcasing my talents as a photographer. And inevitably, we're going to have the big challenge that comes up. How do we select what images go in there? Do you keep that themed so that it's got a consistent message in that particular portfolio? Do we select your absolute favorites, even though they might be across different genres of images? Do we select ones that showcase the most diverse technical range, showing what type of work you can do? This is a really, really good question, and one that I know I struggle with quite a bit when we're coming up with like, okay, how do I present these images coming together? Does anybody have a take on what they do when they're creating a portfolio of images?
I'm struggling with this right now. So very, very relevant topic. I have my first gallery exhibit showing that solo coming up in September, and I'm struggling with what to pick. Do I show the variety of my work? Do I focus just on what I think will sell best because this is for the local PBS station and I want them to sell because we split the
yeah, you want to make money from it. Yeah.
I don't care as much about me making money if I can get my money back for what I'm printing. But I really want the PBS station to, it's a fundraiser for them as well. And so I'd love to hear everybody's input on this, please.
Right. Looks like Andrew's coming in from chat. Sometimes heard that you shouldn't necessarily show what you can do, show what you want to do. And I think that's a really, really good distinction that's up here, is having a focused portfolio based on what the needs are. And this is how I take it. And when we're coming up with, say, our website, images on our website, we'll take that one. It's a little bit different than the gallery or a fellowship portfolio, but it kind of illustrates the point really well. Let's say that we've got our website, we're advertising photography services, and we're super skilled photographers. We can do anything. I can photograph motion. I can photograph people. I can photograph fine art. I can do creative elements. I can do photorealistic things. I can showcase texture. I can showcase really, really difficult lighting situations or photograph objects that are hard to photograph that another photographer might not be able to. It's tempting to showcase all of that in one spot saying, hey, I'm super talented. I can take on whatever project you throw at me. But when you do that, we dilute our message of what we focus in or what we specialize in. And so my take on it is that I want to curate that and say, you know what, if somebody's going to be looking at this portfolio of images, they should know exactly what I do, what my wheelhouse is, and what I specialize in. So for me, on my website, I do a ton of corporate headshots, branding images, that sort of thing. That is the only thing that you're going to find on my headshot website is stuff that showcases the work that I want to do. Hitting up on Andrew's point here, we want to showcase not what you can do, because those ones we can always address those individual circumstances as they come up. But if we're showing what we are really good at and somebody's browsing and they're looking and saying, okay, should I hire this photographer? They do business portraits and branding stuff, or should I hire this one that's got some business and branding as one of the tabs, but they're also showcasing the wedding photography and fine art photography and macro photography and floral photography and astrophotography that they do? Which one's going to be able to accomplish my job better? The one with the more focused and curated image set is going to answer that question and say, you know what? I know they can handle that one. My circumstance might be a little bit weird, but I have a feeling that they know what they're doing. They've got that depth of knowledge in that one specific genre. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the only type of photography that I do or the only portfolio that I have, because I've also got personal projects that I love to do, my own personal passions. Sometimes it's vintage photography or character-inspired portraits or doing light paintings or photographing vintage airplanes. Like, I love doing all those things. And so I've got other portfolios that are focused around those different genres as well. So most of the time, I'm not going to be showing somebody my entire portfolio of everything that I can do, but I send them something that's going to be relevant to what their needs, concerns, or ideas are. Kind of like if you were going to write up a resume, you wouldn't list absolutely every skill that you have. You customize that resume so it's focused on what the job is that they're asking you to do. So if you have the ability to tackle a specific project, everything should reinforce that one message that you are the person for being able to do that. And sometimes that's a little bit challenging because we're like, well, I've got this one item or one object or one photograph that I'm really proud of. It's really cool. Or maybe it's famous or something that shows like that really cool factor on it. That's like, okay, that's a celebrity that's on there. I want to showcase them, right? I think that might be diluting our message. It could add some credibility and give you talking points for things, but I wouldn't lead with that, especially not in a beginning portfolio, even though this might be over a long-term thing. Like if we're doing that initial conversation, keep that dialed in. So let's take that into the gallery showing then. So coming up with Kimberly's example here, be like, okay, should I have that diversity or should I be focused? Does that same rule apply? I don't know 100% because I think it is going to vary depending on what the crowd is. But my guess is that you could probably come up with a central theme for your showcase or your gallery and say, we're going to be looking at local perspectives and everything might have been photographed in your local region. And so we could have diverse subjects, but we've got the locale that's going to be the central theme that's on it. Or maybe it's all black and white or all landscapes. So we've got maybe a different lens that we can put it through curating it. But we don't necessarily want to showcase, here's a family portrait session that I've done. Probably no one's going to buy that one.
This is not similar to my website at all. No, because nobody wants a bar mitzvah or a portrait to hang in their house unless it's that family. So I'm looking at what do people want to hang, even thinking about the sizing, because many people already have their big pieces of art already in their house. What might be for a small little, hallway image or in a bathroom or in a guest room. So, yes.
I like those logistics coming in. It's like, okay, what's actually going to be practical? We might want to say, you know what, having 60-inch artwork that's just jaw-dropping. You can view it from across the room. It's got impact. Like, it looks really good. I want to showcase that sharpness because this is a bajillion megapixel image. That could be kind of cool to do, but the chances of selling that, it's going to have a much higher price tag. It's going to take up a lot of real estate, and you've got a much smaller crowd that can buy it.
Having that said, last year I sold 2 of my winning image from their auction. It sold in the auction, and then somebody immediately bought another one from me, and it was 60 inches wide. But they're actually limiting me. They don't want it that large because most people aren't looking for that large.
It's not as accessible that's there.
No.
Yeah.
And mainly because the person who won the prior year's best of show and got the gallery, they were a painter, and they did huge pieces showing who they
Skill
are as
set.
an artist, their skill set, huge pieces with high price tags, huge, like unbelievable price tags, and that one sold. So for him, it was more about an exhibit, but it was not beneficial to the PBS station.
Yeah, not getting
So
it art into the people's hands, people's homes.
exactly, and they gave their space in a gallery, but there was no benefit to them, and this is a fundraiser for them.
Yeah.
So I love what you're saying, though. I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
Um,
Something that's
but
kind of cool for the gallery here in Spokane, there's an art show. It's called Terrain, and there's hundreds of artists that come in. It's a curated art show, and they've got everything from $20 painting, somebody that's a high school student that's coming up and just happy to be creating art, all the way up to artists that have these huge sculptures and murals that are thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, all throughout multi floors of this business or of this kind of gallery space. It's just a small weekend that it's open. Everybody comes in. It's just thousands of people are there. It's a really cool experience seeing it. But something that's kind of fun is that they have the opportunity to purchase smaller prints. So not the original artwork that's hanging up in the gallery. You can buy that too, which could be really expensive. But then you can also get something that's like, hey, I could buy this for $40 or $50 or $60, and it might be a smaller 11 by 14 print. Still matted, still looking nice, still great for framing, but it's more accessible to the general public. And a lot of the artists are making more money off of the smaller prints than they are selling the larger original works. Kind of interesting, just saying we've got a new product line that allows people to support without as big of a commitment. That try before you buy, or that trial thing.
that's a great point, and I do know that they point people back to me, and if I make sure to advertise that additional prints at different sizes, I will still donate back to the PBS station. That might
That's cool.
Help that. Yeah.
Yeah, John or Bruce, I know you both exhibit and are part of like the ASP's exhibition collection. Any advice or perspective when you submit images for those?
No, but you are right. For this last one on Resonance, I submitted two, a huge one and then a small one, so that it's readily available if somebody wants to purchase one and say, oh, I wanted the smaller one. It's there, and Looney has both of those. And so she's ready to give it to them if it sells, and they can choose the size they want right then, because they're both there for their choice.
Interesting.
That's all I got to share. Sorry.
No, that's exactly it. Have you had the same experience, Bruce?
I haven't had anything by, so
maybe they're too big or not big enough. I don't know which one it's on there.
Rather large. I tend to like large prints myself, so
me too.
I want them on the walls and to make them,
a statement.
You can see them. For instance, a couple one is of a Dead Horse Point in Utah, looking across, and I just don't think that small prints you actually see what's in it, and so I tend to work with large ones. But again, haven't sold any.
Maybe we need to take a play out of John's book.
Now, I did sell one thing. This was a personal work for a particular doctor. Ends up being 4 foot by 6 foot, but those don't come around very often.
Yeah, I was commissioned to photograph a historic painting. It was a Savaray painting. A family had it. It's been in their family for generations coming through. And it was one that had previously not been seen before. So he's I think 16th century Flemish painter, Savaray. And it was a really, really cool painting, but it was huge. It was about 8 feet wide, I think. And just so much cool detail that was on there. I loved it. It was a fun painting to photograph, and they were going to auction it off at Sotheby's. And so they needed images so that they could authenticate it because it was previously unknown, as well as documenting what's there and all the details, both for their personal family and to showcase during the auction. So they didn't have to ship this huge, massive painting across the country to do there. And when they're looking at the values, because a lot of his artwork is like hundreds of thousands of dollars, they had this really, really big one that's up there. And the appraiser had said that if the image had been smaller, it would have been worth about 4 times as much as the larger print was. And so this one was only valued like at $100,000. I can't remember the exact numbers, but something like that. But it would have been closer to $500,000 if it had been a smaller one that more people could have in their homes. Because it was so big, it required a dedicated space, which drastically cut out the crowd of who would actually be able to purchase it or need something like that in their home. And it's like, wow, okay, it goes across genres. It's not just our artwork that we have here, but it's accessibility. Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to display it? And how much bragging can we do about it? So I think the message we're seeing on here is having that focused portfolio that's coming across and making sure you know your audience or that your portfolio is fulfilling their needs. So if we have that, say, public art auction, having things that allow people to actually take it home with them without it having to be a major financial decision could be a cool thing. Or if maybe your brand's all about that larger than life gallery, you're in maybe a tourist type town. We've got these big fancy things going on, Peter Lick style. And it's like, okay, we do need to be big. We need to have that bragging element that can come up there. But even he has smaller prints too. Just so that everybody has the opportunity to walk away with something. So good question, Heidi. Thank you for sharing that. Do want to hit up on another question that we have here, and that's kind of just looking at some of the extreme things that we've done as photographers. Like I was on location this morning, and we had to be set up and ready to go before breakfast started. This was headshots for a conference, so that we could be there all set up. So as photographers, we go when there's pretty light or when we're needed for the work. It's not a traditional 9-to-5 job most of the time that's on there. Does anybody have any fun stories or things that they've done when it comes to being in the right spot at the right time to get the photograph, whether it's getting up super early or traveling or being in harsh conditions? Everybody's at 9 to 5?
Well, my one little tidbit, when I took the image, the spiritual sunrise, when I got that sunrise in Slovenia, it was way too early. Like the coffee machine at the place we were staying wasn't even plugged in yet. Like there was no coffee. I don't do that well without coffee in the morning, but out here we have the store Trader Joe's, and Trader Joe's dark chocolate covered espresso beans were a really good assist for the morning, and everybody was into them, especially the driver of the van I was in. They're like, oh, you can sit up front from now on. So
You got all the goodies that are there.
yes.
My example was kind of the opposite. I knew there was a place in Sedona that I wanted to shoot. I'd been down, scoped it out, but I wanted to get a sunset. The thing was, I'm shooting to the east. And so for 12 years, at least 7 to 12 or 7 to 14 times each year, down there at the same location, waiting to get the right lighting and the sunset, etc., to be able to get the picture I wanted. Finally got it. It was one of the first I went loan with PPA, and they actually selected that year to be given out to the foreign dignitaries who attended the conference. But it was 12 years of effort
To try to get
it. And it's people look at it and it's very nice, but they have no concept of what went into it and my feeling about it. And they don't really realize that it's a sunset, but you're looking east instead of west. But sometimes it takes a lot of dedication to get what you want.
Yeah. JR, do you have any stories to share? I know you're the active camper here.
Well, A lot of times when I'm doing like night shots and stuff, I'm using the apps, so I know exactly what time I want to be where I want to be, and makes life a lot easier. But just the other day, this is not an outdoor shoot. I had to do a studio shoot. I had to set up at 9:30 at night. We didn't get done to about 11 o'clock to set up to shoot the next day, and then we had to be back on site we started shooting at 7 in the morning, and we didn't finish until 11 at night. So different kind of extreme, but
That's
still
a long day. Yeah.
a really long day.
We've got some comments coming in from chat. Andrew saying, Kevin and I photographed a grade school during COVID outside under an awning in the middle of a storm, 30-mile-per-hour gusts. Spent far more time holding the background down than did photographing. That does not sound like a fun time. Heidi's saying, sometimes I learn trial by fire. Red Room of Pain at the Grand Hotel that's just got red carpeting, red walls that are there. That's actually where I was at this morning, too. But getting used to the Spokane locations for events as I go. So far, color correcting, red lighting, and another was green. Biggest pain, but now I can ask the location and choose to say yes if they want to. Once you've been there, you know how to compensate for it. But Bruce, kind of coming back to your point on there, the 12 years to get that one shot. You knew what you wanted to do, just had to wait for the right weather conditions. Was a couple of years ago, visited the Tetons, and Ansel Adams has this gorgeous shot of the river that's going through, the Tetons that are coming up, and it's just, absolutely beautiful. And the location he's on, it's just literally a pullout right on the road. Like, you can just pull out, there's a parking lot, you walk 6 feet, 10 feet, and you're right where he was at. It's like, ooh, I can recreate this. This is so cool. But something has happened. The trees have all grown up a lot more since he took that iconic shot. And now the trees are so high you can't see the river. It's like, oh man, that photograph could only exist in that moment of time. Just like your one sunset picture, it could only exist in that moment. You waited 12 years to find that one moment that's there. Life goes by fast. Like,
just as you're talking about, you can't get it anymore because, again, the trees and the bush and that have now grown up to the point where you cannot get the view at all. So it just, sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not, I guess.
But knowing where you want to be and what you're hoping to get for, like, you can put luck in your favor, I think, just a little bit with it. If you've got a cool moment, even if it's not ideal conditions, even if not something there, just get the shot. Just try it. Say, you know what? I can always go back. I can redo it. But let's get something that's here now. I don't know how many times I've gone through like locations that I used to love. I try to go back and revisit it, and it's just not the same. There's now a new road there. The trees have grown higher. There's a lot more light pollution in that area. Whatever the case be, that's not as magical it once was at that specific point in time. Or maybe there's a model that you love working with. Maybe they're older, or their life priorities have changed, or they've cut their hair and they no longer have that iconic look that you were after or really, really wanted in your portfolio before. Get those moments now while you can. You can always go back and do stuff differently later, but that point in time, what's happening right now, isn't going to exist. You can't go back and recreate that cool sun that's filtering through the clouds. You can only accept that moment that's right there and say, what's my take on this going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have had a moment of something they've gone back and maybe revisited a location that's just not the same when you've gone back a second time? Or third or 10th?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kimberly. Go ahead.
It happened to me in Yellowstone at the Lone Tree, at the Murphy's Tree. The first time I was there, the snow cover was perfect. It was just like cloudy, moody sky. It was amazing. I got a loan out of it. And I've been back twice since. There wasn't the same snow cover. There was lots of bison track. The sky was boring. Like it's not been the same. And I had heard actually at one point that something had happened to the tree. It ended up being a rumor, but something might eventually happen to that tree. You know, something did happen to the wedding tree that's there, and it's not the same as it used to be. So, you know, yeah, we have to capture it when we're there.
Yeah. And John?
Oh, I was just going to share two examples. Everybody takes cherry blossom photos in Japan during the day, but not very many people take them at night. And behind me is one I took at 8 o'clock at night here that you see in my background there. So think outside the box. And don't, again, people are always taking cherry blossom photos, during the daytime. Go for the nighttime and you get some spectacular ones. And then the other example I got is early morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. Go walk a half a mile through the woods to get to a lake where you can get a shot like this that I have in the background now. So time of day makes all the difference in the world when you're going to shoot things. So there you go.
Yeah, not being afraid to go when other people don't want to go. It's like nobody wants to get up earlier. I don't want to drive through Yellowstone when it's 2 degrees outside. But
when
you do that.
Shots.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It was
moments.
minus 44 that day that I got the great shot. And my batteries were dying in the Canon. And I called them in my camera, and they're like, yeah, we don't guarantee it that cold.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's just crazy weather there.
Yes.
Yep. So I think that us being willing to do the things that are a little bit more extreme to get that shot, whether it's coming back to the same spot for 12 years, capturing the moment, going there early in the morning, late at night when the light is pretty. Has anybody been on like a vacation or trip or going out doing stuff? And by the time the tourists start showing up, you're like, I've already been there. I've got the pretty stuff. I want to go nap during the middle of the day when the sunlight's harsh or it's not pretty. I'll be back up when the light's pretty again. I think it's fun to do that. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. And let's see if we can do this. Will I break it? And it doesn't want me to go. Oh, I'm on the... There we go. That's the one that I want to share. Okay, we're coming up on this. So I want to show you another technique, and this one is called a pixel stretching technique. And it's just kind of a fun way to add in a graphic element. So I've got a colorful dancer here. Again, this ChatGPT image, but it'll work great for illustrating what the technique is. So what I'm going to do is take our subject and just remove the background on it. And I'm loving this remove background tool. It's so nice. Just one click. This used to take forever to do. Now it does such a good job. And I want to actually make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to expand my canvas size. And we can come up here and canvas size. And you can see that we've got the dimensions that are up here. And we can choose, if you've never used the canvas size one, you can choose which direction we want to have the canvas going. So where this white dot is going to be where our base image is. So right now it's centered. So if I were to make this bigger and it's stayed centered right here, it's just going to expand on both sides around it. But if I move it, say, to the left, now it's going to expand it to the right, up, and bottom, depending on what we do to increase our image size. So that's kind of cool, being able to choose where we want that expansion going off right off the bat. The other thing that's kind of nice is that we can hit this relative button. And when we hit the relative button, this says, okay, we're just going to say, how much do you want to add to this? Not the absolute value, but how much do we want to add to this width? And we can change our unit of measurement from inches to maybe percent. Say, you know what? I want this to be 300% wider. So 3 times wider. So we took our entire width of the image that we had, and he said, you know what? Let's make that 3 times bigger. So we've got quite a bit of space that's up here. And if we wanted to, I would just want to show you the other one. So image size. There we go. Not image size, canvas size. There we go. Canvas size up here, if I had not hit that one and just gone up with this percentage that's up here and 300 that's coming up here, notice that our subject is centered on it. And we can always drag them over that's on there, but it's kind of handy to just be able to do that during the initial creation, that we can just get it exactly where we want. So now I don't like looking at the checkered spot, so I'm going to create a new layer and just fill it with white, and we'll just drag it down below that's up here. So let's get into what this technique is, because I think it's kind of fun that's up here. My wife was asking about it. I'm like, ooh, that'll be fun to chat about just a little bit. And what we want to do is we're going to make it so that it's like a giant blur that goes from our subject across. So we've got some color and some atmosphere onto this, making it a little bit more of a graphic design piece. So I'm going to take my ruler and just kind of drag it over here. So I've got an area that I can pull from and say, you know what, along this axis is where I want to be sampling my image from. So I'm going to go ahead and take this primary subject here. I don't need her on there. I'm going to go ahead and apply this layer mask so that I'm not working with extra stuff that's up here. And this is just my main subject. I'm just going to label that one so I know what I'm looking at. And I want to be able to take a slice, just one slice that's coming through here. And so I need everything to line up with where this line is. So I'm going to duplicate my subject and turn off the background copy so that I can take this one and rotate it. Maybe I want like the arm coming across here. Maybe I've got some of this legging that's coming across. So I can choose where I'm going to be pulling or sampling from on this image. And I'm just going to kind of line this up. So I've got a little bit of her hand, a little bit of her foot that's coming across. And I've got a nice line that's coming down the middle of it. So now what I want to do is I'm going to just create a selection that goes all the way up and down that, right around where my line was. That was just a point of reference that's up here. But I want to get one solid strip that's done up here. But I only want it 1 pixel wide because I want to be able to repeat that same color sequence that I'm looking at. And we can get a 1 pixel wide selection by coming over here to our marquee tool and holding down, and we're going to see single row and single column. So this is a vertical image, so I want a column. So I can click the single column marquee tool, and I can click right where I want to be, position it. There we go. So I've got that one up there, and I can just duplicate it. I'm going to hit Control or Command J to duplicate that layer. And I can see over here that it made one layer. That's all that single column that's up there. So now I can take this, and I am just going to stretch this out. So I'm pulling. There we go. We're coming up here, and I'm just going to stretch it out over here. And look at all that beautiful color that we just had that came through. So kind of cool that we're getting up that. I do have a couple areas that it kind of missed, though, because there was nothing that was up here on that area. So I might want to select another area that's maybe over here to get some of those cool pant colors that are coming up. And I'm going to do that same thing, and we'll just stretch that one again. It's coming across. I'm just stretching it. Going too big. There we go. Now I've got some color that's up there. And maybe I wanted a little bit from that wrist because I missed that one too. So I can just get that little selection that's up here one more time. Just going to do that one. We've got it on a new layer and we're going to stretch it out. All right. So I've got all my color stretches that are coming through here. And I've got that on 3 separate layers so I could get all the colors because this is a complex subject that's there. So I am going to merge all of these layers together. And I'm just going to hit that merge layer. So now if I were to take my subject and put them on top, I've got it. So we've got this cool motion blur that's coming behind her. So we were able to take that one column and just stretch it out. And now the colors are aligning with how she's positioned. Kind of fun, kind of cool. I can also put my other one, the original orientation, if I wanted it, and it still feels like those same colors and motion, but it just lines up a little bit better. So you could go with whichever look you think works better for the composition. But we've got something that's fun here. I'm just going to keep my main subject and get rid of that other one so we don't kind of clog things up. So now I don't have a very straight line that's coming across because I've got that overlapping element there. So I want to clean this up just a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my normal marquee tool and I'm going to say, you know what? I don't need that. I'm just going to delete it. Oop, not on my subject. Make sure I'm on the right layer here. How many times have we all done that one before, right? Okay, so I've got a nice clean line and my backside is a nice clean line, but just in case, I'm just going to make it so that it all lines up here. So now that we've got there, I want to make sure that my subject's on top. And I'm going to take this background layer and I'm going to zoom out so we can see everything. There we go. So I want to take this stretched layer and I'm going to go so it completely covers my subject so that we've got all those lines that are coming up there. Just like that. It's not quite hitting the toe. I'm just going to expand it just a little bit. Get that tip of that finger expanding. So now we've got that full color, that full amount that's coming through here, looking pretty cool right there. So if we just wanted a straight up stretch that was going across, we've got a pretty neat effect. And we can come through and mask this if we wanted to maybe clean up this side. So I can take it. I'm just doing what's going to be on the outside of this so that she's kind of leading it. Kind of like if you were going to drag on the shutter and do a rear curtain sync flash. Now we've got our subject moving and all that motion that's behind them. So kind of cool that's there. But this is a very, very straight line, so it doesn't have much movement or motion to it. So what we can do, I'm going to unlink the mask so that I can freely manipulate this, and it's not going to affect where my subject was before. And we're going to add some motion to this trail. And I can do that by hitting Control or Command T. And that's going to bring up our bounding box again. And we can right-click it. And now we've got the ability to do some fun stuff with how these it changed around. So I could do something simple like let's take our skew, and we can take it and we can drag in some of the corners and add a little bit of motion. So maybe it looks like she's coming from the background. Things are coming up, or maybe we want to twist them. So it's got some fun elements that are coming there. So now it's like, boom, she's coming forward at a time. Or I've got some motion that's coming there. So that could be kind of a cool thing. And if my background's not lining up, I can just expand that a little bit bigger. There we go. So we've got some nice movement. I need to add to my mask here. Click on that because there's a little bit more that got added into it. We can also play with, I'm going to undo this one actually, play with the warp tool. So Controller Command T to bring it up. We've got a warp button that's up here. And I'm on my mask when I hit warp. Let's cancel that out and actually click on the right thumbnail. So T, we've got our mask. And now we can do some fun warping, like we can bring in, have stuff fold over if we wanted it. Maybe she was coming alive or off the page. We can do all sorts of cool rotations. I think that the warp tool is massively underutilized for being able to add motion into things, because that just looks fun. Just be able to have that kind of come in, that little bit of motion is coming there. So we can play around and get some really, really neat effects that are there. I'm going to go back to that first one that we had. Controller Command T, there we go, right click, and I'm going to hit that skew where we get a little bit of that kind of taper that's coming up. And I'm going to expand this now because that missing that little bit of toe, and I want it to hit that toe. There we go. And we'll clean up the mask one more time. And now I can take this and apply maybe a gradient that's coming across so that it gets more vibrant as it comes towards her. But I've got a problem. I've got my mask that's up here already. So we may remember from the very beginning that we can stack masks. This would be a great one. We could stick it into a simple group, and we can call this one maybe the pixel stretch. I like to label things. And now I can maybe put a new mask on here, and let's do a gradient, just a simple classic gradient that says, you know what, come in here, pull it up to where our subject is, and now it goes from that fade into nothing, into that full vibrance. We can also play with the opacity on this too to make it so there's not quite as strong and our subject pops, because it just got that little bit of oomph that's coming across with it. But I think this is a really, really fun technique for being able to add a slight graphic design to some of your images or elements, or make something like it's got that motion trail that's coming forward. So this is called the pixel stitch technique. Has anybody played with this before?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No,
Sorry.
but now I'm excited too. And I want to share this with friends that do more senior portraits, because I think when you stretch, like you folded it over like a page, like putting in the graduation year there.
That'd be a fun idea.
It would be wonderful. So
yeah. If you have something with motion, I found that this works the nicest if you got something that feels like it's moving. Like a car would be really cool for being able to stretch the effects. Someone that's doing a choreographed dance like what's up here, throwing an object, something that's got a variety of colors, so there's not just one solid color that's being stretched out from it, but also has some texture and some personality to it as well. So finding that base image. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that, JR?
I've done it with dancers and basketball players.
Yeah, those would be really nice, especially if we can get somebody that's like in a partial or holding a dance pose, being able to add in that bit of motion to them.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
When you're making the canvas bigger, could you have the same thing accomplished if you just use your crop tool and just spread it out?
Oh, yep, you can totally do that too. Yep. Okay. So what JR is asking is like, okay, we pull up the crop tool. If I wanted to say make this taller, could I just expand that upwards and say, yep, we've got it here, and now our canvas is bigger, and we just fill in that background, and we've got all of it there. So yeah, there's one of the nice things about Photoshop is there's about 1 billion different ways to do everything that's on it. So whatever approach that you find best, if you had a complex background, using the crop tool with some of the generative expand stuff is a really nice way of expanding what that background is. In this case, we were just working with a simple white one, so we didn't need to have anything that was super, super fancy with it. But kind of fun.
I know with Photoshop, there's always a bunch of different ways to do things, but there's sometimes the wrong way to do things too. And I just wanted to make sure I wasn't doing the wrong way.
Yeah. So in this case, it's just adding on and expanding the information that we have within the scene. So it's like, okay, if we're just extending that background, we're not inventing pixels. We're just saying the base area that you're working with. So we're not any change in quality that we're going to be having, unless you were to change, or when you're doing that cropping, change like what your resolution is. But that same would be true if you're doing your canvas size, if you change your resolution, or your image size, changing your resolution, that will affect it. But which tool that actually does it, if you're just using the canvas size or using the crop tool and getting bigger, exact same result. Sometimes the crop one can actually be handier if you want to stick within a certain aspect ratio. Say, okay, I need to make sure that this stays in a 2:3 or an 8:10 or ratio. Yeah, Bruce, you had a question?
On your when you're doing the image there, one thing that bothered me was the right side was being absolute perfect perpendicular. Okay, even. What I was thinking is if you take the body, the girl, make a copy and use it as a mask on the end of it on the right hand side, so you have it basically make her disappear, but have the shape of her body and legs, etc., imprinted on the right-hand side of those things.
Yeah, I'm going to share again. Let's look at that. We'll come up here. We still seeing the woman? The screen?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to get rid of this mask that we had before, so we've got that full opacity, and I'm going to bring that back up so we can see everything really nice. So what Bruce is saying, I'm going to duplicate this subject, and we want to maybe bring her over here so that her backside is creating that mask that we have. Is that right, Bruce?
Yeah, essentially so that...
And we'll scale her down.
Uneven edge of it.
And so maybe we want to have it so that we've got this front edge that's coming up. I can make her even smaller coming up here so we can get that really nice shape that we have. And kind of a cool way of being able to make... I'm off just a little bit with where that foot is. There we go. So if we want to get pretty precise into an area that we're going to be going, we can hit Control and or Command and click on the thumbnail. So we can get a selection of that. So now I've got this selection that's right here. So I can come down to my mask area, and I'm going to create... I didn't create a mask ahead of time, so I'm creating a negative mask by holding down Alt or Option. And now it'll cut that out, and now I can go through and take out those little extra bits here. So we've got her base shape that's coming up. Is that what you're thinking? Or did I do it backwards?
No, that's exactly what I was thinking about. You have a little bit of depth then in the colors. Instead of just being colors, now it also is reflecting the shape.
Yeah. And if we wanted to maybe continue on with what that was, I'm going to drag this one over. So we've got the entire body coming up here again. And we can get a little bit bigger on this. There we go, and make sure that everything's staying in it. Coming up here, I can do this same selection that we had before that's up here, but let's have it so that we've got the trail that's coming up on here. So I'm going to invert this selection by coming up here to select inverse. So now I've got it, and when I go and I create my mask that's coming up here, I should have created the mask ahead of time. So I've got that one. I'm going to invert that one, and now we can paint in the front half of this. There we go. So we can maintain. This is probably the hardest way I could have done that, but because I didn't create my mask ahead of time. I wish they'd let you do that. If you have a selection, be like, no, just create a blank mask template and then not have it autofill in there. But in this case, we've got her dancing legs and stuff that are following that shape in the back, which can be kind of cool. And then we could just say, you know what, let's blur that just a little bit. So we've got the base shape that's coming through and not as much there. And I think it gets even stronger if we were to maybe pull that back just a little bit. And maybe we throw this into another group and say, you know what, let's add in or create the mask first. There we go. Okay. And then we can create it so it comes down here. That's a little bit too much. So let's pull that back just a little bit. And now I can have that little bit of taper that's coming up while still maintaining that shape. And And if we wanted a different shape that was coming through, we could do that same thing. If we wanted a circle, if we wanted an oval, we wanted a star, we can do whatever we want there. So we can have fun that way. I think Photoshop's so much fun for being able to play in these just creative elements, just experimenting, seeing what works. How can we add in some graphic design elements? That's definitely one of the themes that we had today during the Photoshop stuff, is what graphic design can we throw in here to add a different take on it? Not necessarily applicable for our traditional landscapes or portrait stuff, but does get our creative juices flowing, and was a good way to illustrate our complex masking, because we want to be multi-masking, not multitasking. My wife came up with that pun. I just had to say it. Yeah. All right. So that's enough for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me for another episode of Office Hours. This was the last episode of season 1. So I'm coming back in August 12th. So that's a few weeks out from now, but want more summertime to play. Going to reflect on how season 1 went, things that I liked on it. Definitely enjoying these conversations that we've been having, not just tutorials, not just critiques, but being able to have that dialogue. I think is a ton of fun. So going to continue to reflect and reinvent on here. If you do have suggestions for things that you'd love to see Office Hours do, content for us to cover, or things that you think would be fun, please email me or reach out. Would love to make this as valuable for you as possible, and I really appreciate you spending your time with me today. All right, everybody, have a great one.